Hey, friends, welcome back. It's Michael Yates with the Ridgeview Pod, where we try to cover everything hope, healing, and recovery related. My guest, Jonathon Hash, and I just completed one episode and thought, you know what, we ought to keep the conversation going. So we're glad you tuned back in. Jonathon, good to see you again.
Glad to be here.
Here we are.
Never left.
We had just concluded an episode talking about how you take care of yourself and things that you do to promote your overall, health and well-being, certainly during a complicated time that we're living in today. And you touched on, we were having a little laughter about some of the board games that have been used to not just bring people together, but to have engagement and laughter and fun. And what a neat way that can be to not only build friendships, but help promote overall health and well-being. What are some of the other things that you mentioned? Travel when we're not under COVID protocols. Do you have favorite places to go to?
Well, I always want to check out new places. I get to go to Atlanta a little bit. There's my favorite burger restaurant, the Vortex down there. So that's a place that comes to mind. Before the apocalypse, I like to call it, I had plans to go to Prague, and I really just want to try to get back there.
Yeah. What is the interest about Prague?
It's like a medieval, like fairy tale world. Like it's just a whole different world. And
have you been there before?
I haven't. I just saw pictures, and there's like castles and gardens and all kinds of cool stuff, and it just looks like a fun, amazing place. So.
Yeah. Well, my son recently moved to Atlanta, and he certainly has understood, become acquainted with the many wild and wonderful attributes that a big city like Atlanta can provide, everything from Kanye West to the Atlanta Falcons and everything in between. But I became acutely aware it's a young person's town, so you are obviously still young and can handle it. So, you mentioning travel had me thinking about, traditional ways in which other people may try to get out and about. Now, certainly we live in East Tennessee. We're surrounded by lakes and mountains, woods, those kinds of things. Do you find that those activities can be helpful for people who are in recovery or working through treatment?
Yeah, I think I like to tell everybody that being in recovery is a great time to explore new hobbies anyway. And one I recommend is just finding the healing power of nature. It's just your brain just changes with the amount of sunlight and exposure to the outside world you're getting. And we're just making better pathways in our brain just by being there. And so there's also like a big spiritual aspect to it too, with connecting with like the earth. And so it just can be really restorative for people. And especially if you're in recovery, it's a great thing to have. And it's good, clean fun, which is in recovery what I'm hoping my people are looking for. So
you mentioned the brain, and I know that brain science has grown by leaps and bounds over the recent years, and what they call the plasticity of the brain, the capacity for it to rewire itself, build new connections, things of that sort. Is having that level of insight, is that helpful for people who are in one of the treatment programs?
Yeah, so with this whole brain science exploration, mindfulness comes up a lot. And mindfulness is a superpower. I've found that you can apply it to everything. If you know, mindfulness is basically being aware of your emotions without letting your emotions carry you away. You can use it for anger management. You can use it for recovery. You can use it to fight depression. And it just really is. It's great. Basically, it's just being aware and knowing what you're feeling, knowing what's going to make you feel that way, helps you catch the problem before it gets too serious. And then, so that's the first step, is catching the problem or stopping the problem from getting there. Once you catch it, you got to know what to do with it. And that's where we come in for the next part. But that
Yeah.
awareness really helps.
No, that's an excellent point. A couple of, well, gosh, this is maybe now 20 episodes ago. One of the guests was Hannah Samawi, and she brought up mindfulness and the importance of that. And I had to confess, I'm not sure that I'm not sure I've ever really understood it and what it means and what it might look like or feel like. But she referenced something that you just did about, the acknowledgement and recognition of a thought maybe that comes in to your mind, naming it, acknowledging it, maybe even being with it, but then also letting it go.
Oh, yeah.
And not necessarily ruminating on it, especially if it's a negative one, a painful one. But you just brought up, and then what do you do with it? Say some more about that.
So, I mean, if I can be aware and I could see a problem coming, so if I'm standing on railroad tracks and the train's about to hit me, I can catch that, but it doesn't do any good if I don't get out of the way. So you got to know how to run to help instead of running to what used to hurt you in recovery. You got to have a phrase we beat to death. We hear coping skills all the time, but you got to have them. It's just another tool. The more tools you have to put something together, the better you'll be. So I can jump out of the way. I can tuck and roll out of the way.
Yeah.
Whichever coping skill is going to work best to get out of the way of this train that's about to hit me.
Yeah. I mean,
metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, I really like that idea of, being calm enough and still enough that you can acknowledge something that you're thinking or feeling and letting it go without necessarily having it hold on to you, if that makes sense. And I can see how being out in nature and walking and hiking or being at the lake or the beach, whatever, would afford you your mind space, time for other things. Birds in the trees, the sound of wind blowing through the trees, the way the sunlight comes through the hillside, the way the water sounds over a brook, and so forth.
Yeah, all very calming things. Just a lot of beauty in that.
Yeah. Do you find a lot of the folks going through the treatment program, do they find those mindfulness practices to at first be, it's too foreign, I'm not sure, it sounds a little too far out there. You start talking mindfulness and meditation.
Oh, definitely. So the place people's brains typically go to when I mention that is meditation. So I have a whole section I teach on mindfulness practices that don't involve meditation, which is actually a trick because it's like, here's 6 of them, and the first 5 are all these new practices, and the 6th one's meditation. So it's just, there's different immersions that you can do. Picture describing like a flower to someone who's never seen a flower. That's one of the practices. There's listening to music because people love music, and focusing on a single instrument or vocal throughout. If there's like multiple vocalists, just listening to one and or just following the guitar or the bass or the drums. That's another one. And then if there was an old Batman Forever movie where Robin is doing the laundry and he's practicing his martial arts while he's doing his laundry, which is actually a mindfulness practice. It's immersing yourself in a mundane task in a fun way. So you can be more aware of your body movements that way. And then after you've practiced all those, it comes back to now try to meditate.
Right. I like that. Bait them in, hook them, and then, yes, we finally get around to meditation. But no, those are great. Just hearing you mention those, it's like, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. You mentioned music. You like music?
I love all kinds of music.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite genre?
So I'm glad you invited me because it took me back to my radio host days in college where I got to run a classic rock show on UT's radio. So I love classic rock. I think they're calling it dad rock now. But it's like the 80s power ballads, like the Bon Jovis and Van Halen's. That was my kind of thing. I listen to new stuff. I'd say newer stuff. Now, I don't listen to what the kids are listening to anymore. They don't. I always swore I would never be this person. Of course, I've become this person anyway.
Amen, brother.
But rock is always a lot of alternative rock and a lot of punk rock. Got me through my angsty college and high school years. And then when I'm working, I actually listen to a lot of like electronica music, kind of almost like 90s dance music. And it's very energizing for me.
Yeah. Man, you mentioned dad rock. Just to give you an indication of how old I am, I think I've probably fallen the granddad rock. So yeah, I'm more of the Who, Zeppelin, Stones, Doors, that group.
Oh yeah, we played a lot of Rolling Stones on college radio. So no, I think that still qualifies as dad rock.
Well, did you play the activity we did here a couple of maybe it was pre-pandemic, so maybe 2019, where a group of us identified, if we were on a desert island, the top 10 albums that you would have, and that's only you could listen to. I can't remember if it was albums or artists, but that would be the only thing that you could listen to. Were you here for that?
I wasn't here for that. So.
Yeah. It was very interesting. Generated a lot of interest from a lot of folks. I wish I could remember what was the aggregate of. I think some obvious ones that were on there were the Beatles and maybe the Stones. But yeah, it was a fun exercise. Those of you listening to us, maybe you want to put your top 10 in the comments section and let us know what you think. Well, this has been fun. We haven't gotten to books yet. Maybe we'll do that in a future episode. I just enjoy spending time with folks here at Ridgeview and you coming in, telling us a little bit about the program and other ways to be a good steward of your own mental health and overall well-being. I think is always time well spent. So thank you, Jonathan.
Definitely. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Right.
And
you let me know.
Yeah. And we hope you have enjoyed this. Please tune in again. If you have not, just please subscribe, ring the bell so that you get notification of our latest episode. It's always good to spend time with you. Take good care, and we'll see you next week.